I wanted to know how I can hear Abraham or other entities myself instead of through Esther.
Well, it sort of falls on the heels of what we were just talking about here, doesn't it? So the first thing you do is acknowledge every time it feels like it's happening a little bit. Like our friend said, sometimes I hear and I'm afraid to even admit that it might be what I'm really hearing. I adore you. We'll just give you some clues. When you hear I adore you, it's source. When you hear you're inappropriate, it's your mother.
I get it.
So what you do is, you see, it's the same thing that we've been talking about. So as you set forth an intention and then you watch for and become expectant of finding it, when it happens, you'll feel the resonance of it that lets you know. Esther said, when she began receiving us and people would say, how do you know? Esther would say, I don't even know how to begin to answer that. When something is this huge and this big and this full and this sure and feels this good, it is not deniable, you see. So it's just a matter of setting forth the intention and then reaching for it. You've heard a lot from us here today that will help you a great deal. And we are so appreciative of this vortex analogy because it makes concepts that were at times more difficult to explain much more easy to explain. So where is the source who you are wanting to communicate with? In the vortex. What does it feel like when I'm in the vortex? I feel secure. I feel full. I feel love. So what happens to so many people, they'll have a problem that they are writhing in, and they'll say, oh, I need an entity to give me the answer. Well, they're in a step one moment. They're not going to hear the answer. Esther discovered early on, the question is a step one moment. You know the steps? Step one, ask. Contrast causes you to do that. Step two is source answers. That's what's swirling in the vortex. Step three is you got to get in the vortex. You've got to be in vibrational alignment with what you're asking for. So when you're plagued with a problem, when you're begging or praying for a solution, by focusing upon the step one moment, you're not in the vibration of receiving it. In other words, the vibration of the question and the vibration of the answer are two very different vibrations. The vibration of the problem and the vibration of the solution are two very different vibrations. So you let life cause you to pose the questions, but then you do every chance you get. You meditate, you bask, you look for reasons to feel good, you do focus wheels, you do anything you can think of doing to get in the vortex, in the vortex, in the vortex. And in those moments, that's when you hear those answers. You're not ever going to hear the answer to a prayer while you're suffering in the problem. Wrong vibration. You can't do it. You got to let it go. You got to let it go. You got to focus in a way that causes the problem to vibrate out of your experience. And when that is no longer active, then the solution will be right there for you, you see. So what Esther does when she wants to talk to us, because it's tricky. You see, if Esther has a problem, she can't access Abraham. If the problem's active in her vibration, she can't hear us. Two different vibrations. So she'll chew it over with Jerry. She'll say, let's get clarity about this. Poor Jerry. He has to listen to Esther get him clarity. Step one, step one, step one, step one, step one. But it gets it out there. And then Esther knows enough to then just let it go. And often it will come up in a gathering, or she will awaken hearing it, or while she's driving, in the bliss of the rhythm of the road, it will occur to her. All of you are receiving. Every one of you is an extension of source. Esther is not unique, not even close. You are all conduits of source energy. So we would like to activate within you an expectation of receiving. We would like to activate that within all of you, you see. There is nothing more exhilarating than to know and trust that the answers are within you. And now you know why sometimes you hear and sometimes you don't. And it's why you've come to not trust, is because when you're out of the vortex, you're not hearing. When you're in the vortex, then you know, you see. So what we would do, if we had something that we really wanted to know, first of all, we would talk to Source only about things we really care about. Things you really care about, because there's lots more going in your vibrational reality about that. And then we would make effort every day to meditate and quiet our mind and raise our vibration. And then the affirmations that we would speak would go like this. I know I'm an extension of Source, and I expect clear conversation about things that matter to me all day long. I'll listen for it. And then when it happens, acknowledge that it happened, like our friend. In other words, when you've deliberately set that up and then it happens, you know Source brought you that butterfly. You know it wasn't a freaky thing. You know it came in response to a request. You know it whether anybody else knows it or not. You know it. You can feel the resonance of it, you see. Every question you have is answered every time. The question is, are you in the vicinity of hearing the answer? And that's really what this gathering, which we've been calling the art of allowing for years, is all about. Allowing myself to get in the vibrational proximity of who I really am. So when people pray, there are prayers that are offered in such pain, and every prayer is answered. But when a prayer is offered from an attitude of pain, the offerer of the prayer is nowhere near the vibration of the answer or the solution. So the prayers that are most effective are the prayers of appreciation. The prayers of, this is what I love about this, and this is what I love about this, and this is what I love about this. A prayer from need is a vibration that prevents the solution. A prayer of appreciation is a prayer that lines you up with all things wanted, you see. So that's really a good way to look at this connection between Source. And you know, how often do you have insight and you know it came from a broader perspective? You just know that it did. Even if it's something as simple as beginning to walk out the door without your cell phone and then remembering to go back and get it. That's broader view, recalling what you want and you being open enough to receive it all day, every day. People say to Esther, you're so lucky. You've got Abraham who can talk to you. So when you're driving down the road and there's something in the road, Abraham can tell you. And we say, can't get a word in edgewise with these two. They're always talking about something. But if there's something in the road, and Esther's tuned in, as she almost always is while she's driving, she feels an impulse to slow. She suddenly feels more alert. She sits up straighter and holds the wheel tighter and doesn't really know why. And when Jerry feels that she's turned the cruise control off because something is going on, he looks up to see what's up. And he knows that in the majority of cases, he will see the reason that she felt the impulse. Because you have broader view when you're tuned into Source, you see. Source knows who you are and where you are and everything you want. Source knows your exact proximity between where you are and everything that you desire, and is carving out a detailed path for you. And when you follow the impulse that feels good, you're on the path, you see. But if you say, oh, no, I don't want an impulse path. I want a letter in the mail. I want to be told, bet on this horse. Play these lottery numbers. And we say, Source is giving you something better than that. Source is carving out for you a lighted path. You just have to be in the vicinity. It just keeps lighting up and lighting up and lighting up. And that is the best expression of following one's bliss that we could offer. Follow the trail that feels good. But you got to get in the ballpark first. You got to get in the ballpark first. In other words, you just have to understand. And we think that you've done that here today. We think that you understand the vortex. We think you understand who you were coming in. We think you get it, that you are an expanded being. And we think you understand the power of your emotions. You know the vibrational relationship between you and you. You do. You know it. And now, never again will you feel an emotion, positive or negative, and not know what it means. I'm in the vortex or I'm out of the vortex. You'll know. And further, you now know what to do. Never again will you be focused upon something over which you have no control, which is giving you negative emotion. Never again will you do that and not know the futility of focusing there. You're not ever going to forget that the most loving mother that you have ever met, who experienced the most excruciating, unpleasant thing that any mother could ever experience, you're never going to forget that Abraham would not encourage her to go there even over something that big. Even over something that big. There is no excuse to focus outside the vortex. Now we know it's not easy always to focus inside the vortex. But the source within you will never go there to complain with you. So now you know that. You know you've only have one choice. If you are to be who you are, you have to find the best feeling thought that you can find from where you are. And it's not that hard, is it?